Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the University of Dundee Master of Education webinar. My name is Helen Sparopoulos. I'm the Admissions Manager at Stafford Global, and joining me this evening all the way from the UK is Dr. Marie. Good evening to you, Dr. Marie.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good. Well, I'm very glad to see that we have quite a lot of you that have joined us already from as far afield as KSA and Egypt, and I can see a few from the UAE, which is fantastic. How we are going to conduct the webinar this evening is I'm just briefly going to introduce you to Stafford. I'm then going to hand you over to Dr. Marie, who is going to take you through the program. And towards the end of the presentation, you can ask Dr. Marie or me any questions that you would like answers to. I will try and group the questions together because they normally are quite similar, and either Marie or myself will be able to give you the answer you're seeking. Okay, so let's get started. Now, who is Stafford Global? Now, Stafford Global was established in 1993, and we are a resource centre for distance learning education in the Middle East. We are currently a resource centre for 6 UK universities, one of which is the University of Dundee. Now, we do offer a variety of programs ranging from certificates to diplomas, bachelor's, MBAs, MScs, masters, doctorates. So we really do have all the programs that will suit your personal and your professional needs. Now, the mere fact that you're here with us this evening means that you have been in touch with one of our experienced academic consultants, and our role is to assist you through the entire application process and make sure that you do get that very, very important unconditional offer. And we do also have a very, very strong administrative support team that will assist you as well whilst you are busy studying. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Marie, and I shall join you towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Marie.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the University of Dundee, and more importantly, I suppose, the Master of Education Programme. So I'm Marie Beresford-Dey. I'm a lecturer in educational leadership, and I'm the academic lead and advisor of studies for any students undertaking their studies via Stafford Associates. So it's lovely to be here with you all today. So what I'm going to do is introduce you a little to the University of Dundee. Before then, I funnel that down to the Master of Education Programme. So as a university, who are we at Dundee? Well, we like to think, well, we know we make a difference here and now in the real world. We encourage a cross-disciplinary exchange of thoughts, ideas and innovation through a variety of teaching methods and perspectives. We work to foster a partnership approach between students and staff and actively seek ways of working together across boundaries. We encourage and support students to be transformative. We make time to listen to, help and support you. We recognise and respect the differences and actively promote inclusion. And finally, we nurture creativity and innovation in your thinking, and that in turn will transform your practice. So in sum, our purpose at the University of Dundee is to transform lives locally and globally through the creation, sharing and application of knowledge. So what you can see there is the rankings that we have at the University of Dundee, and we're very proud of these and we work hard to sustain them as well. So then let's move a little bit closer to the MEd and introduce you to that. So the MEd is a professional development programme undertaken at level 11 on the Scottish Qualifications Framework. So that is master's level and that's recognised globally. It's a suite of postgraduate modules in professional development for educators from a variety of settings. It's a programme that's based a lot on reflective practice, so you'll be carrying out your readings and then you will be considering those readings, the scholarly work, the theories in terms of your professional practice. We often use work-based inquiries and action research to underpin some of this work. Please do note that although the MEd is recognised by the General Teaching Council in Scotland, the GTCS, it's not a teaching qualification. And as different national governments have different prerequisites for teaching, we do advise that you check with the relevant government or registering body to find out what their requirements are. Okay, so moving on, we are part-time and we do offer fast track, so primarily a part-time programme, but we do offer fast track route through, and these differences in timescales offers you some flexibility and autonomy within your work. We are a blended learning programme, primarily online. We do offer some opportunities for face-to-face workshops, but most of the teaching is online, and I'll come back to that shortly. So as I say, we are a practice-based professional development programme and with a master's level qualification, but we're also recognised and accredited by the International Baccalaureate, the IB, so some of you may be interested in that. And again, I'll come back to that shortly. So we have students from all over the world across lots of different sectors in education. And we offer a variety of routes and foci throughout the MEd programme. We treat all students equally, so even though you'll be studying at a distance, you still have access to all the student support opportunities that on-campus students have. We're internationally recognised postgraduate qualification with education at its focus, and these focus are from early years through to higher education. There are several benefits of undertaking a master's degree. First of all, it deepens and broadens your knowledge through asking questions, seeking answers and exploring that landscape from those different perspectives, which then changes the way in which you perceive the world. And through this, you'll develop a more inquiring, reflective, critical and innovative approach to practice. So all of those features underpin the MEd. Through undertaking the MEd, you'll demonstrate your mastery of education, which of course can then be honed further to specialise in an educational area. And we'll outline some of those areas as we discuss the pathways through the MEd. It enables you to develop transferable skills such as criticality, communication, use of technology, and organisational skills will be critical. Study at master's level enables you to improve your career prospects, which often leads to higher incomes, as this also includes professional progression into leadership and management roles. Also, you might wish to progress to doctoral study if you obtain the full MEd, and we do have students who do, which is wonderful. And some countries consider teaching a master's level profession, so obtaining an MEd enables you to meet the professional requirements within these countries. Okay, so why study the MEd at the University of Dundee? Well, it's a programme of study, as I've said, that brings together theory with your practice. It encourages you to draw on your experiences and align them with the literature, with the things and books, texts that you are reading. It enables you to question why we do certain things and whether there are alternative ways where practice can be enhanced. It encourages you to strengthen your knowledge about global education developments through offering an opportunity to critically explore different perspectives of education. So through that criticality, that's where we start to question some of the readings and really prod and poke our understanding. All of which help to develop or extend your confidence and enhance your professional career. And as tutors, we are continuously seeing our students' practice being influenced by their learning with us on the MEd. This inevitably benefits the students and the staff who you're working with, so not just you, but those around you also. To obtain an MEd, you'll need to complete 180 credits of study in any of the named awards that you see on the screen there. The Award of Leading Learning and Teaching, that's highlighted in bold, is our generic award, which provides subject flexibility. However, if you do require that subject specialism, you can see that we have a number of options from educational leadership to TESOL. Okay, each of the optional modules enable you to carry out the study and assignment without being in a workplace environment, as long as you have relevant teaching experience to draw from. Each of the optional modules that you can see listed there are considered as a single credit module, and they're worth 30 credits each. In addition, we also have 3 core modules, so reflecting upon practice or reflecting upon leadership in the IB, depending on which route you take, research methods and dissertation. The reflecting modules and research methods are also single credit modules, so worth 30 credits. But the dissertation is a double credit module, and that's worth 60 credits. To demonstrate how the named awards and modules link or align, you can see that the generic Leading Learning and Teaching Award enables you to undertake any 2 optional modules, along with having flexibility at dissertation stage. Whereas the named awards, not highlighted in bold, do require you to undertake specific modules, and the dissertation must focus on an area relevant to the named award. So, for example, if you wish to obtain an MEd in Educational Leadership, then one of your optional modules must be Leadership and Organisational Development, with a free choice of a second optional module. But then your dissertation must also focus on educational leadership. So you're aligning the full MEd award with the subject matter of one of your key modules, plus that subject matter coming through the dissertation also. Okay, I mentioned the International Baccalaureate earlier, the IB, and for these awards, once you commence your studies at Dundee, you'll need to register directly with the IB, but we'll provide you guidance for this process. And we also have a dedicated member of staff who will provide you with IB support. There's no additional assignments for each of the IB awards, but you will be expected to underpin your writing with IB publications and philosophy. Again, we'll provide you with support for this. You can see there that we have the 3 awards, the Certificate in Leadership Practice, and for that there's no prerequisite of IB experience. We also have then undertaking that with or without IB experience will then provide you with eligibility, as long as you're focusing on leadership throughout your entire dissertation on leadership. Then you will also have that eligibility for advanced certificate in leadership research. And then finally, we have the advanced certificate in learning and teaching research, and that can only be undertaken if you complete the full MEd. And for that, the IB stipulate that you must have 3 years teaching experience in an IB school. Okay, so working through this a typical part-time route, which also includes the advanced teaching and learning. we can see then that in year 1 we have a core module of reflecting upon practice, and then you have the first optional module, and this will allow you, if you so wish, to exit with a postgraduate certificate, so 60 credits. In year 2, you would undertake your second optional module, and then the core module of research methods, and that would allow you to exit with a postgraduate diploma if you wish. But of course, we do hope that you would continue on to year 3 and achieve the full MEd, where in year 3 you would undertake the dissertation and exit with an MEd, and at that point, as long as you also have the 3 years teaching experience, you will also have potential for the IB Teaching and Learning Award. Okay, so the MEd, and this time we're looking at a typical part-time route through the MEd, but this time with an IB Leadership Award. So this is where there is a change if you're going down the IB Leadership route. So in year 1, your leadership and organisational development is the first module. And then the second module, which is classed as a core, well, both of these are core if you want the IB Leadership Practice eligibility, is the reflection upon leadership in the IB. And at that point, you have that eligibility for the IB Awards, but also you have the eligibility for postgraduate certificates if you decide to exit the programme at that point. Again, we hope that you continue on and undertake year 2, which then is your optional module in addition to your first year's leadership, and then the core module of research methods, and that will provide you with eligibility for postgraduate diploma. But if you decide then, which we hope you do, to go on to year 3, the dissertation, so the full MEd with a leadership and IB focus. So if you undertook your dissertation in those areas, then you also have the eligibility for the Advanced IB Leadership Award, as well as the MEd. There's lots to think about in there, and I'm sure the team will support you in understanding that further. So during the module, studies, most students' time should be spent on self-directed study, using the material and course content in the module area. The recommended study time is around 15 to 20 hours per week for a 30 credit module. And these semesters run for 17 weeks. So this study then is supplemented by live webinars, similar to what we're holding now, and questions and answer sessions delivered by the module leader in the main, but sometimes there can be other tutors also. If students can't make the live sessions, they'll be recorded so they can be viewed or rewatched later to provide you with that additional support, because we do understand that people will have different commitments. So although this is a part-time programme, as I mentioned, we do have an option for the fast track study. Well, the key difference here is that you double up the amount of work carried out in a semester for the fast track route. So you would undertake a total of 60 credits in one semester, as opposed to the 30 credits for the part-time route. The other difference here is that for the fast track option, if it comes to the dissertation, we don't allow an empirical research to be undertaken. It would have to be a desk-based study, just purely because of the amount of time that it takes to complete ethical requirements. So for a fast track dissertation, it must be a desk-based study. The fast track option is a significant undertaking, and I strongly advise you to consider whether you have space to complete approximately 35 hours of study per week. However, if you do decide upon this option, but then feel that it's too overwhelming, some students do, depending on other commitments, we can transfer you onto the part-time route at the start of the semester. Equally, if you commence the part-time route but perhaps your circumstances change so that you feel that you're able to double up your study, then again we will be able to transfer you at certain points of your study. So if you are planning on a fast-track route, please do take the time to carefully consider it. Okay, workshops are not mandatory but are highly recommended. They are a fantastic opportunity to meet with other students as well as some of the tutors. It's a space for us to start building that sense of community. The induction workshops will provide an opportunity to gain an understanding of the various mechanisms within the university's online learning platform, how to access the online library, and how to access the various opportunities for support. It will also enable you to develop an understanding of critical reading, thinking and writing required for master's level learning. You can see that our next workshop is coming up very shortly. It's not one that you'll be attending. We don't have the dates for the next one, but you can see how close these workshops are held in line with the start of the semester. Feedback is always excellent from the workshops. Students do find them very worthwhile. Okay, entry requirements. All routes, you must have an undergraduate degree, but this can be in any subject matter, so any discipline. If your undergraduate degree was not taught in English, or English isn't your first language, the English language requirement is an academic IELTS of 6.5 or equivalent. And again, the team at Stafford will be able to advise on that. We do require you to have teaching experience. You may have current experience, and that's great, in a relevant setting, and therefore you'll be able to learn and work at the same time. Or that experience could be previous work, not necessarily current, but it needs to be a substantial amount of experience for you to reflect throughout your understanding of the module content and in preparation for the assignments. So graduation timescale, these don't happen straight away after completing your final module. We do have the MEd Board of Examiners, and these are held which is held in September, and Chair's Action, which is held in May of each year. And it's only once they have occurred and you've been put through those that will be able to that will trigger graduation processes. So there's 2 graduation opportunities per year, June and November ceremonies. They're both wonderful opportunities to see Dundee, of course, to celebrate your achievements. And we do love seeing students attend these graduations. And so it's great to have them back physically after being online through COVID. Registry contacts students to inform you that you may be eligible to graduate. We do ask you to check that everything is in order before booking any flights and visas and things like that. So on completion of all that process, letters of attainment can be requested from the graduation office before you receive your certificate. But no certificate can be provided until you have graduated, either in June or November. Okay, you can see there that we have some wonderful feedback from our previous students. This is just a small selection of what we receive, and it's always wonderful when we do get this feedback. Mainly because we know that the students have had an excellent experience with us, but also the impact that it's had on them professionally. Okay, tuition fees and the application deadline is please for the tuition fees. Ask your academic consultant at Stafford for a breakdown of the tuition fee and the instalment schemes. And you can see the application deadline is the 10th of March, which seems an awfully long way away, but it really isn't. Trust me, we've been here before, haven't we, Helen?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I do encourage you, as Dr. Marie has said, to try and actually get your applications in as quickly as possible. This program is very, very popular, and it does actually book up quite quickly. So we do encourage you to try and send your applications in ASAP. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Marie. That was very informative. And I've now opened up the portal for you to type out any questions. And I can see there are a few questions that have come through. There's about 3 or 4 students that have asked very similar questions about assignments. And I fully understand a slight apprehension on the assignments. Basically, they're saying, I haven't done my studies in quite some time. Now, will the university actually guide me as to how to write these assignments? And the second part of the question is, if I do happen to fail the assignments, will you assist me and let me know where I have gone wrong?
Okay, so the first part is we do offer lots of different support mechanisms in writing. We do understand that many of our students haven't written or undertaken an assignment for a long time because they've been it's been a while since they've carried out their undergraduate studies or even other postgraduate studies. So we do give, and there'll be the induction workshops, which is available to, and we go through some of the writing elements at that very first point, so you kind of know how to start developing your writing as you go through the module. So please don't leave it right to the very end. These are things that you should be developing as you work through the semester. So we have the inductions. We also have a lot of Q&A sessions as well as the live webinar, so you can ask the module leaders or other tutors if they're there about different aspects of writing. But we also have regular sessions in the MEd Community Hub, which you can then identify subject areas that you might want the team to bring to you. So if we can, we'll bring extra information there. But I think as well, one of the key areas of support to highlight is our Academic Skills Centre. The team there are wonderful. In fact, before you even get to the team, there's a whole range of resources available to you online. I'll dip in and out of them. My colleagues will dip in and out of those resources as well. So, please use those resources if you join us. It is my one plea to students right from the very beginning. Engage with the Academic Skills Centre, particularly if you do need to develop that confidence in academic writing. And if you need that one-to-one support from the Academic Skills Centre, you can then book an appointment with them. But they're not a proofreading service, so it's important to bear that in mind. They are there to help you develop your understanding of academic writing. So again, early engagement with them is what we would strongly advise. In terms of failing an assignment, these things happen as much as we try and support you to avoid them for a variety of reasons. The occasional students don't pass on first attempt, but you'll notice I said on first attempt there, because you will get opportunity to resubmit. You'll always have those 2 opportunities. Unless your first attempt you didn't submit anything, and then of course that resubmission is classed as your second attempt. And you'll get extensive feedback on your work that you submitted. Prior to that, you'll have a formative opportunity before the summative submission. You have an opportunity for a formative piece. You'll get feedback on that. Your tutor will meet with you afterwards to discuss that if you request a one-to-one meeting with them. And then the same with if you have to resubmit your piece of work, you'll get extensive feedback and your tutor will be there for you to have a discussion with, as long as you connect with them and ask them for that meeting.
Good. So I hope that actually has cleared all those questions, and I think you have. That's actually spot on. Okay, good. And a question about the fast track and the non-fast track. If I do happen to start on the normal track, can I change to fast track and vice versa? Will this affect my studies in any way?
It wouldn't directly impact your studies. Sometimes it can indirectly impact it. For example, if you were to undertake the fast track route, thinking that actually I'll only need 25 hours, I'm on the ball here, and we'll just ignore the 30-35 hours, but actually you really struggle to fit what you're required to do within that time. So I think sometimes students don't realise how much time needs to go into these things until they're actually doing it, and that's quite understandable. So there are opportunities for you if you're on the fast track to transfer to part-time, as I say, if it becomes overwhelming. But again, the earlier you have those conversations with us, particularly with myself as your advisor of study, the quicker we can put processes in place for you. We wouldn't be able to do it a few days before an assignment's due, for example. But so again, early conversations are key here. The other way that we can do things, so if you are a part-time route and you want to transfer to fast track, there are certain points that we can do that, because of course fast track means studying 60 credits per semester. So once you've maybe passed a 30 credit, your first 30 credit module, we wouldn't be able to transfer you to fast track at that point until you've completed the second 30 credit module and you're on that completion of a level, and then we could transfer you onto the fast track route. But I will say, we don't just go, yes, we'll transfer you. I would like to know a little bit more about why you want to transfer. We would need to have a conversation whether this is the best thing for you and your studies, and have that discussion. You can see from all my responses here, or hopefully you can hear coming through loud and clear, a lot of this is about communication and opening up early discussions with myself, other team members of the MEd, including your tutors. So I'm hoping I'm stressing that quite enough, and it's coming through.
Absolutely, that's very important, and you're really quite spot on about that. You know, the more you open about the communication and also how you're progressing through your studies, it's very important for the academic team at the university, because that's exactly what they're here for, to actually guide you and to assist you to successfully pass the program. So yes, Dr. Marie's quite spot on about really opening up that communication with your support team as well as with your academics. Okay, a very interesting next question. Is the postgraduate certificate just as valued by employers as a full master's?
Okay, a postgraduate certificate is a third of a full master's. So academically, it's never going to be at the same level as the full master's. Whether an employer would see it as more valuable or not depends on the requirements of the region that you're in and the job that you either are in or are aspiring to be in. So that's a really difficult one for me to respond to and give you a definite answer.
Absolutely, and Dr. Marie is quite spot on. A lot of the schools in the Middle East will only require a postgraduate certificate level from their teachers in order to do the relevant teaching, etc. So as Dr. Marie said, it's very important to also be opening up your communication with your principals at the schools and finding out exactly what is required from an academic standpoint. Do they require require a full master's or do they require the postgraduate certificate? And Dr. Marie would actually agree with me, where a lot of our applicants do start off with the postgraduate certificate and do progress into the postgraduate diploma and eventually a full master's. So you do have that option to start off with that and then fully continue as well. Okay, again, do get in touch with your Stafford consultant, so we will be able to guide you a little bit about that as well. But Dr. Marie is quite correct. It really does depend which country, which schools you're working. So, you know, there's a bigger picture around that. Okay, next question is about specialization. Can I change my specialization halfway through my studies, or do I have to choose my specialization from the onset?
Well, we'd like you to choose your specialisation from the onset because that will guide yourself to know what you're aiming for. But of course, things change, thinkings change, particularly in light of your learning as well, and alongside your career progression also. So we do recognise that things change, and there are opportunities to change. I mean, I've been responding to emails from students today who wish to change their modules, which then means that they're having to change their MEd pathway as well if they're doing the full MEd or postgraduate pathway. And so it's understanding that through changing a module, that might have a bigger implication for the named pathway that you're on, but also the other way around. If you want to change the named pathway, so an MEd in something or postgraduate certificate in something, we need to make sure that the modules that you wish to change to also align with that. So it depends what you're changing from and to. Of course, the leading learning and teaching pathways, whether that's postgraduate up through to the MEd, offer you great flexibility. So if you're changing from a specialism to that, then yes, we can change that without any further alterations. But actually, if you start off on something that's flexible and you say carried out 2 of your modules and then you want to go to a specialisation, we have to make sure that you've completed the module of that specialisation, and then you're going to link it, if you're completing the full MEd, to your dissertation as well. So all in all, the simple answer is it depends.
Good. Yes. Again, do get in touch with your academic panel at the university, because they will be able to advise you, as Dr. Marie has actually mentioned, the intricacies regarding that. Okay. Very interesting. Next question is also regarding workshops. I have just joined the October intake. Fantastic. Good to have you. And it says here that I understand that the workshops are not mandatory. My question here is, will this affect my studies in any way if I do not attend any of these workshops?
Well, it shouldn't disadvantage you because you'll have access to all of the recordings and the resources, and of course you'll be, when you start your module, then there'll be information, similar information within those early modules. However, there's always a flip side to that, isn't there? What these workshops bring means an opportunity to you really to dig a bit deeper into some of the information around academic skills, for example, the platforms, and understand what they might look like, feel like, across the university, the support mechanisms that's available to you. And I think one of the key things for students is starting to build those relationships with each other from the very beginning. Is lots of conversation happens in these sessions that you can't replace by recordings and static resources. So I would always recommend, if you can come along, that would be beneficial for lots of different ways, but equally everything will be available to you if you can't.
Good. And the next question is regarding IB. How do I go about gaining my IB certification? Is this provided to me by the university?
Well, once you've completed, if you're on an IB route, which we'll identify during the application processes, because that may stipulate which routes you've got to go through in your study. So once we at a point of knowing who is undertaking the IB routes, then the team here will contact the IB, provide them with your name and the student information. And from that, they'll be you'll be asked to register with the IB. The certificates don't come directly from us once you've completed your eligibility, and that's the reason why we say eligibility for the IBs, because we don't actually award you the certificates. You do need to obtain those certificates directly from the IB, and there will be email communication once you've been registered with the IB, particularly close to the time of you completing your studies or just after graduation. When all that information gets sent to the IB, then your certificates, you'll be offered an opportunity to obtain a certificate. There is an additional fee for your certificate. I'm not quite sure what this is at the moment, but you'll be informed ahead of time.
Good. And the next question is, I am a maths teacher and I have been for quite a few years now. I am looking to do a master's in mathematics. If I can see that you don't have this particular specialization, what would you suggest I take as a specialization if I am a teacher in maths?
If you're a teacher in maths, I'm assuming that you've already got a specialisation in mathematics there, so it's perhaps broadening out your understanding of education in different areas. So I suppose it depends where you want to focus your career development. I mean, for example, are you aspiring to be a leader, for example? Could you undertake the educational leadership route? Maybe you want greater knowledge on inclusive practices, so you could then undertake the inclusive educator. Maybe it's just a more general understanding of different pedagogies or innovative pedagogies. So you might want to take the leading learning and teaching. So I think if you're already a master's, to me, a maths teacher, to me that suggests you've already got that specialism. And perhaps I can, like I say, consider broadening out to the wider educational experiences and understanding.
Good, and always a popular question regarding graduation. What would happen if I cannot attend my graduation? And the second part of that question is, does my degree certificate state online distance learning?
I'll answer that back to front because I like to leave graduation to the end points. It's a celebration. So no, your degree certificate won't state that it's online learning. It's a popular question that we get asked all the time. Your degree certificate will be exactly the same format as a student who's obtained theirs on campus. So there is absolutely no change there. In terms of graduation, I just get a warm feeling when I think about graduation because it's such an exciting time. But if you can't make it over to Dundee, and we understand why, it's great distances to travel, particularly if you've got lots of other commitments. But it'd be great if we could see you. But if not, then your certificate and transcripts will be posted out to you. So at very early stage here, if you do join us, please always keep your details up to date so we have the correct address to send these very important documents out to you.
Good, and I've just got a last question here, which I will answer. It's regarding English, meeting the English requirement. Do get in touch with us, with your academic consultant. There are various ways of actually meeting that English requirement. It does depend on a lot of factors, your degree certificate, which university. So we do need to look at your documentation. We'll have a great conversation with you. Our academic consultants will then be able to give you the best possible solution to meeting that English requirement. Okay, good. So I have managed to actually group all the questions that we have this evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this evening. And again, lovely to see you, Dr. Marie. But as Dr. Marie mentioned earlier, please make sure that you get your applications in ASAP. I know there are holidays coming up in December, so if we can try and get your applications in before the holidays, you will have a good position to be in and get your unconditional offer for March next year. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you again, Dr. Marie.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.